Is there a place for perfectionism in songwriting? How do you feel about that? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I know some writers define themselves as perfectionists, but is that holding them back? Is that helping their music? How do you see that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't know, my answer is not complicated, but I don't think there's a simple answer of like good or bad. To me, perfectionism, there's two sides. One is that like, if you want to write your best songs, you want to make the biggest impact as a songwriter, you want to make songs that are way, way better than average. So having that, like aspiring to perfection, is definitely helpful. And I think it's that thing, there's this thing called Zipf's law. I don't know how you say his name. I think that's it. Zipf's, Z-Z-I-P-F. And it's this idea that like the most famous songwriter or the best paid songwriter probably earns like double the second best songwriter. So let's say it's Max Martin. He's like, whatever he makes in a year is up here. And then the next songwriter is maybe half of that and a third of that and a quarter of that. So what you kind of have is these few people, and this is true in most art forms, right? You have a few people that do very, very well. And then there's this kind of long tail of people. Like, how much money does J.K. Rowling make, and how much do the like bottom 50% of children's authors or authors make? So in songwriting, certainly in professional songwriting, you know, not everyone necessarily wants a career in that. That's great, but there are definitely big advantages for being really, really good, if that makes sense. So that's one side of that. And I think that in a lot of ways it's very healthy to want to push yourself and aspire to perfection. But the flip side is this idea that like a song is never, a work of art is never finished, only abandoned, which is like a phrase people use a lot, which I think is brilliant because you can literally go on making changes forever. Like nothing ever is perfect, right? And you can like, and I'm a big fan of like promoting drafting and like doing early drafts and changing things and making those little tweaks to make something really, really great. But what you learn, you know, I've created tons of different things in my life, and, you know, writing the book was the same, and working on shows and other things, the website design I've done on my site. You can literally go on tweaking those little things forever. And it's like, well, do you want to create one thing with your life, or do you want to create more? You know, do you want to work on one thing till you die? And it would be perfect, but like, what is that going to happen? Or be close to perfect, but what is that going to be? So it's definitely a balance. And I think if you're just starting out, probably the most important thing is just to write a lot and not worry so much about the quality. And you're not always going to love what you write when you first start out, because, you know, your skills are going to take some time to catch up to your taste, to where you want them to be. But you definitely have to fight that, especially as you get further on, about wanting to create just a few perfect things. And I had this as well. I always try and find my balance, and I don't just want to put anything out there. As I say, I want to be creating things that are like really well made and interesting and whatever. And you can only do that, in my view, by kind of wanting to push towards perfection. But obviously at the same time, there comes a time when you just have to like say, this is it. This is as good as it's going to be. There's like things that could be better, and I will see them. My audience probably won't, but like this has to like live now and fly and, you know, have its place in the world. So that's kind of my take on that. But,
yeah, and it's funny with the audience probably won't see them thing, because if you knew what a certain artist was thinking about, maybe they have certain what they consider to be imperfections in certain songs. If you knew what those were and you listened to them, you'd probably be like, you care about that? Like it wouldn't even bother you or most other people, but like to them, it's like this big thing. So it's probably the same thing with your stuff.
And it's like, I'm not going to tell you, but I know the like 3 typos in my book. I know the 3 places that I missed them, the proofreader missed them. And like, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say them. There's 2 typos and 1 factual error, and that's fine. But like, you know, and like, maybe there's probably a couple more I don't know about. And so if anyone finds them, don't email me. I don't want to. But like, you know, in 50,000 words or whatever, that's a pretty good ratio. And again, like people, and this is one of the things about making art, that like what feels like very everyday and ordinary to you is like magical to someone else. And I really love that because it's so easy to forget that, especially when you spend a long time working on a project. You get so into it. It's like the wood for the trees thing. You can't see people come to it, fresh and whatever, and they're going to love this and this and this, and they're not even going to notice that one or two things. It's just you as the artist, as the songwriter, that's like, what if I just spent 10 more minutes on that? But like, yeah, eventually I just realized that you can always spend 10 more minutes. You could have spent that 10 more minutes, but then you could have spent 10 more, and you just learn to like let the stuff go, let it have a life, and do something new,
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a balance. I think my view, at least, is it's not so much about good songwriters being better songwriters. They just get pickier than average songwriters, if that makes sense. They like do the second, third draft, and they're like, wait, this could be better, and they make those changes, and they do 5, 6, 7, 8 drafts of whatever it is. And that's definitely true in my experience as an artist, that like, if you want it to be really, really good, you have to have that perfectionism and be willing to rewrite and make those changes and tweak those details. But again, you can go on forever. So you do have to be able to walk away and say, this is it. This is what I got.
So maybe the summary of that is use your perfectionism to get you to keep pushing yourself to write better songs and improve and improve, but not to the point where you're like looking at every tiny little detail with a magnifying glass and using it to hold you back from finishing things. You want to get to a point where you're like, all right, this is done. It's good enough. I could nitpick this for the rest of my life. It's time to move on and write the next one. So that's
exactly. It's not like aspire to perfectionism, but no, you'll never reach it because because nobody does. And like you say, it's like, if you work on it forever, nobody gets to hear it, and then at some point it has to go out into the world, and you have to say, it's time to do something else. So
yeah. That's great. Where can people go to find out more about you and what you do and teach and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So the best place is just to go to thesongfoundry.com, or just put it in Google or whatever. And basically all the stuff is on the site there. There's like, I can't remember how many articles, there's like 60, 70 articles I've written over the past few years. There's all the info about my book. If anyone is interested in working with me one-on-one, all the details.
Great. And I'll put a link for that below so people can get to it easily.
All right, so I hope you found that information useful. If you'd like to learn more, you can download our chord and melody writing cheat sheet by tapping here on the screen. It's got charts and tips that will make writing your next song a little bit easier for you. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap our logo on the screen for that. And I'll also have links for that stuff below this video. So thanks a lot for checking this out. I'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.